mi amigo Eduardo Mangarelli.
Good afternoon. I'm very proud of the Artech team organizing this meeting. Someone who really worked hard to join us here, that someone is Eduardo Mangarelli. He had an accident, and in spite of this injury, he joined us. So, Eduardo, thank you for coming in spite of your sprinkled ankle. I love to walk, but I will have to sit down and stay quiet. And thank you, Nicolas. Let me thank the team also for this invitation. Somebody told me, please show us the cast. It will create more empathy in the audience. During this presentation, I will talk about Microsoft and what our vision and platform are. A few months ago, we defined the company as a cloud-first, mobile-first company, and I want to let you know what this means. I'll tell you also what we've been doing over the last few months, and I have some announcements for today. Before doing so, you may wonder why this happened to me. This is what happened to me. This is me. Sometimes you cannot stop the player, and so they try to do something that's a little naughty. Well, no, I was running. I was just running along the street, and I fell, and I hurt. Well, part of what we've been doing, I've followed this event online. But during these 2 days, when we look at the world in which we live, in which we move, in the context of technology and regarding the use of technologies, we agree that the scenario is very complex. And this complex world and this complex scenario are defined by the amount of variables that we manage, the different scenarios, the degree of penetration of technology in all kinds of organizations. Last year, Gartner, in the annual event, used as a motive a phrase that read, "Everyone is a technology company." So all companies use technology regardless of what they do. We need technology if we are a bank, if we provide utility services. In any case, we depend on technology, and not just on technology. We also, not just depending on the technology that we use internally as a CEO, the technology we give to our staff for productivity, for things to work, for the business to work. At the same time, organizations become technology providers for other companies outside. The apps generate links across organizations and the end users and the final consumers. And I could give you several examples. There are different trends today. Today we have trends that everybody speaks of, and I'm repeating things that somebody said, that's probably like Internet of Things, IoT. We are moving towards a scenario of millions of smaller or bigger devices connected to the Internet, offering information, and that poses the challenge of storing and obtaining insight from that information. The concept of machine learning, in the past we spoke very little about it, but machine learning is a concept that cuts across whatever we do. The fact of adding intelligence to the software. This relates to having large volumes of data. I don't expect someone to process data and make decisions. The technology needs to analyze, process the data, and make decisions on my behalf. The scenario of mobility, where we have more and more devices which are varied. And on that basis, we define the concept of cloud first, mobile first. When we talk about mobile, we're not meaning a smartphone or a tablet or a wearable like a watch. We are talking about the concept of mobility of an individual. today, if we did a quick survey, a quick question, I'm sure that all of us have more than one device. It's highly probable that we have 3. It's highly probable that in those 3 we have different families, one with Windows, one with iOS, or a Mac or Android. So our productivity, our mobility, I mean, is more focused on the people, on the person, and how to provide more experience going beyond this very heterogeneous scenario we move in. So we define the organization of the company as a platform and productivity company. And once again, there are scenarios we've been talking about for several years, but when I say we've been talking about this as industry, but we still have some scenarios which have not been quite accomplished. We have to lower the barriers in the use of personal and traditional technology when we use the devices for one scenario or the other. But that poses challenges for the organizations from the point of view of security, also distribution of their corporate applications. So we need to provide a unified experience for the scenario of our own personal lives and our jobs. And this is the combination when we give the best productivity solutions as well as the richest platform to build applications. Thinking, once again, on covering all the scenarios, not just thinking of a world that is focused on Windows or a world focused on a given platform. We have to look at the world of heterogeneous platforms. Let me share a few examples. A few weeks ago, we announced a product that we call Delve. Delve is a product that is part of the family of Office and the collaboration tools. And the objective is not to talk about a product, but we need to analyze it from the point of view of what it means. Delve is a product based on the concept of Office 365, which is our share platform online. That includes Office, email, SharePool, Jammer as internal cooperation, Link as a communication means, etc. But the opportunity we have here, once I manage my collaboration and my documents and my interactions through this platform, how technology can have insights and draw insights and become smarter, and under this concept of machine learning, to infer the kind of documents I might need or the information I might need or who I'm going to talk to at a given point in time if I have prepared a meeting with someone in a few minutes. That intelligence, that machine learning concept applied to configuration is Delve. Delve provides me with this interface which infers what I need at a given point in time. And I leave aside the product itself. The interesting concept that I want to highlight is what we have behind it. What is behind, what supports it, is the intelligence to process that information that is available. Who I'm talking to, who I'm having a meeting with, who just updated a version of a presentation that I read a week ago. Without the person doing anything, the fact that I have updated it infers that that is important for me. That concept of machine learning, of intelligence, of insight in technology shows the vision that we are currently sustaining. Another important example, and this is part of what we announced this year, we talk about Cortana. Cortana is the assistant, the smart assistant in Windows Phone, which is present in other platforms with some differences. And part of the strength and what differentiates Cortana is its artificial intelligence motor, its machine learning, supporting, for example, in order to have information in real time about traffic on a route. If I go from one place to another, that is part of the information in my agenda. It tells me you should leave now, otherwise you won't get there in time, without having my own interaction. A very simple experience along those lines when I was in Washington in July this year. Cortana tells me in 20 minutes there will be a downpour. It was very clear. The sky was very clear. And I was surprised how proactive it was, telling me that there was going to be a downpour. It was my first interaction with Cortana, and Cortana was being proactive. I was surprised by the announcement. I did not believe it, but 20 minutes after that, it was a terrible downpour, very intense and sudden. These are the experiences that surprise us. This is what technology is here to bring into our lives. Along those lines, I said, well, please tell me you should leave before, because the route will be congested. But Cortana today has this intelligence that is helping the U.S. market. And why it is so much focused on one market? Because the intelligence behind Cortana is Bing, and that's all the information that is analyzed and indexed by Bing, and therefore it's checking information on real time about highways, stockbrokers, information, climate information, etc. This is the kind of experience we refer to when we say that we need to integrate the world of technology with our own personal lives and professional lives. Cortana, in particular, can be integrated in applications, so I can start adding intelligence to my applications in Cortana or by interacting with Cortana. And this is building along the line that each of the technologies we provide and each of the services we provide, which are, this is part of the shift that is taking place that the new CEO has instilled in the organization. All the products that we provide and all the technologies we provide need to be a platform with open APIs, so that any of these products or services or technologies can be integrated inside other applications. That is the case with Cortana today, or with any of the products coming from Office. But the truth is that one area, an important area where we want to provide the best experience, is the Windows area, understanding that we move in a very heterogeneous scenario where the share of devices, and I'll be clear, when we talk about the whole share of devices, Windows is just one part. Android has the largest market share in the mobile scenario. iPhone, in particular in the States and in Japan, almost account for 50% of the markets with more penetration, and the figures will change depending on the region. But the reality is that this is a very heterogeneous scenario. Now, we want to provide the best supplies so that we can convey our experience through Windows. And we made important announcements this year. Windows for devices under 9 inches is 0 licensing cost. The tablets 7 inches, 8 inches, the cost of licensing is 0. And the same is true of Windows Phone and Windows for IoT. And some of us saw the Intel Galileo processors and Galileo plaques a few weeks ago, and those plaques that point to the IoT run on Windows, the same Windows version for these devices, and cost is 0. So from the viewpoint of devices, this was posted yesterday. HP plunges down market with a $99 Windows tablet. $99. So what we want to do here is to make the Windows devices more accessible. But we see that the user's experience is heterogeneous. And we've all heard or read something about this. This year we announced Office for iPad, Office for iOS, and Office for iDrone. So today I have the same experience of applications in Android, iOS, and Windows. And that's the line we follow. So in any of these devices, you can use Office or Skype or Minecraft also as part of a family. So once again, we try to provide an experience, a unified experience, regardless of the device it stands on. So when we look at the experience of applications and services, today the world is more heterogeneous, supported by a cloud. And I would take a few minutes to talk about the way we see cloud. I remember 5 years ago when in this very same room we had Scott, I forgot his surname, and we announced the first version. It was called Red Dog. It was the internal name we gave it, and Scott was wearing red shoes. It was not called Red Shoes, it was called Red Dog. But at the time we started talking about the cloud. What we talked about 5-6 years ago led to Azure today. And the level of penetration and usage of critical missions for companies or cases like, did you see that film called Metegol by Campanella? The rendering of Metegol, the animation of that film was done on Azure servers, 400 Azure servers running for 45 days. That was the work of rendering and animation for that film. And when we look at the corporation today, Azure is the only platform that is in the magical quadrant that's leader for us. And this is for infrastructure as service, platform as service, internal cloud, private cloud. And this is one of the main differences of Azure today. By taking our history, today I can have a scenario where I have the cloud capacity and the same architecture of Azure in my organization. Or I can have 100% of my infrastructure on the cloud, or the scenario of the hybrid cloud. And here there are very, very clear scenarios. All my infrastructure runs within the organization, but there are times when I need to scale up the demand and the capacity for processing. And that capacity to scale up moves up to the cloud. Another hybrid cloud scenario is when I have several systems running in the organization, but there are other organizations that I can start moving towards the cloud. So Azure today has the highest level of footprint. The availability of data centers on a world level is the largest for the industry. When we look at Azure, Azure today has a large platform component. I build an application with GeneXus. I build my website with GeneXus. But what I do, the application as such, runs on a platform as services, and this solves all the infrastructure underneath. I don't worry about the operation system or the tuning or all that. Or I could have a scenario of infrastructure as service where I have availability of virtual machines. Today, 50% of the virtual machines that run on infrastructure as a service are Redcup, SUSE, and other suppliers who are certified Azure providers. And this builds along the line because from the point of view of devices, we have very heterogeneous scenarios. We also have a very heterogeneous scenario in terms of technologies that store services on the cloud. I can bring my projects, applications, services, PHP, Ruby, MySQL, or my servers, Linux running on infrastructure as a service modality. Some services need to be shared. These are Azure services, like the service that was announced on machine learning. Today, machine learning is packaged to be able to bring solutions using machine learning, using pre-organized Azure systems. One of the largest lines where we are investing is processing of large volumes of data. Could be called big data, or storage, managing an insight capacity of this data in the Internet of Things world. In that world, IoT, which is so important, the scenario of machine learning is fundamental. Machine learning is part of the capabilities, is part of the services that in turn are part of Azure. So we want to provide a heterogeneous, open platform that is open to many technologies on the cloud. So we have to deal with all kinds of platforms, like scenarios for infrastructure, or by machine learning, or authentication. For example, I have Active Directory in the cloud with Azure. And it's very interesting for companies, because they say, I have an Active Directory within the organization, but I would like to authenticate users outside. And I want to synchronize this with my inner activity on the cloud also, and therefore do synchronized authenticity scenarios. As we look at this situation, let me see where we stand today and what our vision is today and where we are moving on. Today we made a very important announcement about 2-3 hours ago. A few hours ago we announced Windows 10. Windows 10, the next version of Windows. And Nicolas managed the timetables, because now I can speak about it. Windows 10, the next version, the same operation system to run on devices that go from telephone to tablets to desk, even other devices like the perceptive pixels, which are touch, multi-touch screens, 80 inches. This is a technology of a company called Perceptive Pixel. We bought it 18 months ago. They manufacture multi-touch 80 inches, the same operational system, the same applications, the same store experience for all these devices. Part of this is trying to simplify the development experience, unify and simplify the experience of users, the experience of interaction with the different devices. Today's announcement in particular, it is available to be downloaded as from tomorrow. The version we release points to the scenario of PCs with keyboard and mouse. It's clear that the experience of satisfaction of Windows 8 with touch devices is very high. It was not so successful if you were using a PC with keyboard and mouse. But this release, Windows 10, features the experience now conveyed to keyboards and mouse. The new version of the Start menu, a new way to manage the windows, and two important elements. The experience in the administration of Windows need to be tested. Try it. It tells you something about organizing and reorganizing windows. And I'm sure this is going to be a challenge to all of us to see how we manage all those windows, how we move them around. Also, the fact that we reorganize the windows, but the applications of Windows Store come to be desktop applications. I can reaccommodate in my desk. And you can look at this from two perspectives. One is a change from the former model. Full screen applications are different now. And the other perspective is that I can start distributing applications that I will use in my desktop, and I can distribute them through the Windows Store. And this has advantages in terms of security, administration, management of the application deployment. That is why this version, technical preview that is being released, aims at companies, people in the technology area, so they start evaluating and using the new Windows version. The invitation is preview.windows.com. The other important thing is that we have announced a program. It's called Windows Insiders. And you can subscribe and you can participate in early versions to give direct feedback. And the announcement I'm going to make is very important. What we are after is to be more open in the development and design process so as to take your experience into account. And we invite you to join this program and tell us, yes, continue this. This led me to productivity loss. I like this as it is, etc. This is how we want to get feedback from a very early stage. Now, to sum up and to leave some time for questions, today I would like to highlight one thing, and that is our idea to provide the best technological platform for the productivity scenario, a platform on which you can build applications for cloud first, mobile first. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Preguntas?
Any questions? Microphone, please. I found many difficulties in using this, but what I was very frustrated. I'm sorry, but we're not receiving the sound properly.
Hoy, de hecho, la experiencia de las aplicaciones Windows Store, que son las aplicaciones que entraban en modalidad full view, digamos, o que tomaban el 100% de control de la pantalla, efectivamente yo puedo utilizarlas dentro del desktop, con lo cual no implica cambiarme de un lado a otro. De hecho, no existe más el concepto de me salgo del desktop para ir a otra cosa. Vivo dentro del desktop. Ahora, un punto importante ahí. Parte de lo que anunciamos hoy también es que la experiencia de interacción es el mismo sistema operativo, pero la experiencia de interacción se va a comportar distinto si estoy en un dispositivo en el cual tengo teclado y mouse a si estoy solamente en una tableta. La experiencia va a estar optimizada para cada uno de esos usos. Porque de hecho la experiencia de Windows 8, cuando yo estoy en una tableta solamente, es súper rica, es súper interactiva, el feedback es muy bueno ahí. Pero no es lo mismo cuando estoy en el teclado. Entonces, de hecho, el mismo sistema operativo, dos comportamientos distintos. Hay un video bien interesante en el mismo sitio que muestra el pasaje de un escenario al otro. Tenemos tiempo para una pregunta más.
Una pregunta.
One question. The millions of applications that now Windows has running on prior versions, are you planning on supporting them? 100% of compatibility. On one hand, in terms of desktop traditional applications that were installed through setup, those applications will still be running 100% in terms of store applications too. And while we're at this, in April this year, we announced a number of technology components that will help you in terms of if you have an application in Win32 mode and you want to bundle it to have it distributed through the store, because I want the user to be able to download it from the store, I want to be able to sell it through the store. The deployment format of the store has many advantages, both for me and for users. So I can have Win32 applications, I can take them to store scenarios and have them distributed through there. I can give you more information about that, but this is a bundle of technologies. Thank you very much, and I remain at your disposal. It will take a while for me to get out of the room.